Hello everybody. Have you guys ever heard the term stroking a jig? Well, stay tuned and I'm going to teach you all about it. Alright, thank you guys for joining me. Let's dive into this stroking a jig technique. If you guys aren't familiar with it, it's a technique really you use with the warmer water, summertime. Deeper largemouth, even smallmouth will like this technique. It's a matter of popping the jig off the bottom pretty hard, letting it sink, popping it up off the bottom, letting it sink. So let's get into my tackle setup a little bit. I like to use a high-speed reel. This is a Quantum 7-3-1. It's got a big handle, holds a lot of line. I really like the Quantum reels for this. But you can use any reel, but I'm just a Quantum fan. The rods are very important. I like to start out with a 7'3" when I'm fishing shallower ledges. Shallower ledges meaning, the top of the ledge, top of the humps are, 5, 6, 7 foot deep, maybe up to 10. But when I get a little bit deeper ledge or a deeper point or a deeper hump, 10 plus, I'll bump up to a 7'6" rod. Heavy action for both. You want an extra fast tip, pretty stiff rod, but you want a lightweight rod because this technique can really be strenuous, doing this all day long. Next up is the line. I start out with 15-pound fluorocarbon when I'm fishing the shallower ledges. And the reason I like fluorocarbon, it's low stretch and the line sinks, so it helps get the bait down a little quicker. Stays down there and it comes to the water column really good. I will change my line size. I'll go down to 12-pound test when I'm fishing a little bit deeper stuff. It seems like it gets the bait down there a little bit better and you got a little bit better control of it. Let's talk about the bait. The bait's, of course, the most important. There's a lot of jig manufacturers out there, but this is a custom jig that I pour. This one's a 5/8. That's about the heaviest one I use. But I like using a 1/2 ounce for, like I said, the shallower ledges, 5, 6, 7 foot deep ledges. And I'll use this 5/8 for the little bit deeper ledges. I will use both. And I like a jig that's got a flat head on it. You can see I've been using this one a little bit. It's got a little bit flatter head on it. It lets it glide a little bit when it goes back down. Really, I use a really light weed guard, but I like a big hook. You can see how big this hook is. But just try it. Try any jig just to get used to the technique. Colors, you can experiment with colors depending on water clarity. The more stain in the water, I like a darker color jig. Of course, black and blue, even a solid blue jig. This is I think this is like a amber crawl. This is called one of my favorites. Kind of a brown, got a little bit of light strands in it. Just experiment and see what works best for you. Trailers, I like a little bit of action to my trailers. This is a Denny Brower Rage Crawl. I really like it. We use a pack-a chunk a lot, the pack-a crawl, even a regular Rage Crawl works really good. Just try different colors and see what works best. Alright, that's my setup, and we're going to go out here on the water and see what we can do. Stay tuned. Alright guys, let me demonstrate this technique. Now this is just the basics, because you can alter this technique, you can alter the cadence, you can do all sorts of stuff with this. But this is a deadly technique, especially on the Tennessee River system, where I think I may be wrong, but I think this is where this stroking the jig got started. Well, let's see what we can do. Let me show you this technique. When I'm fishing here, I've got the boat sitting in about 20 foot of water.
and I'm throwing up. This is kind of an old river ledge. Kind of makes a horseshoe right here, and the top of the ledge, you know, back behind me is about 12, 13 foot deep, and it kind of gradually comes up to a hump, and it gets a little bit shallow right here, you know, 7, 8 foot on the top of it. So I'm gonna start with my 5/8 jig. So doing this technique, let me demonstrate. Make a pretty long cast out there. And if you've seen what I just did, I pulled some line out because I want the jig to fall straight down. All right, I'm on the bottom already. So what I do is I start with the rod at about 9 o'clock, okay? And let me back up a little bit. And what you want to do is just pop the rod up and you watch your line. I pop it up to about 12 o'clock and I'm on the bottom again. So you pop it up again and you can lower your rod and watch that line. Always watch the line. That is very, very important. You can vary this a little bit. Sometimes, you know, they just want a short hop, just kind of just quick snap, just a little short hop. Other times they want it really violent, really where it'll jump up there about 2 feet off the bottom. Sometimes they want it where you can triple it like that. It looks like a crawfish trying to, you know, if you've ever seen a crawfish in the water, you know, they use their tail and they scoop backwards, trying to flee. And they're pretty quick. So, experiment, you know, to see what the fish want. Generally, I'll just start out with your basic, you know, just snapping it up off the bottom. Sometimes I'll double it. And always watch your line. That's probably the most important thing to me, is watching your line. Sometimes the fish will hit it, as you pull it up, they'll hit it about halfway up on the stroke, which is they're a little bit harder to get a hook in. But most of the time, they'll hit it as the jig's falling. And to me, I've read a lot about this, and I just don't know from experience. You know, of course it's better if they're moving some water, if they're generating a little bit of water. We're on Percy Priest, and there's not a lot of generators. It's a landlocked lake, so. But if you're on the Tennessee River system or the Cumberland River system, you know, this technique I think is a lot better if they're moving water. But we have caught them when it's just slack water and the bite's real slow, which it's been pretty slow here unless you're fishing in the dead of the night. I'm not a fan of night fishing. I used to be, but that's the basics of this technique. And I encourage everybody to get out and try this. I used to be a big tournament fisherman, and my favorite time of year when the fish come off the beds and they start making their way out deep and get out on those drops, ledges, humps, points, deeper points. And you know, I got to where this was my favorite technique, and it probably still is. We've had a lot of success in this region. I live in Middle Tennessee, but you know, I've done this technique on Gunnersville, Alabama, done it on Kentucky Lake, Barkley, all of the Cumberland River system, Tennessee River system, you know, even I'm on Percy Priest, like I said, and I've had a lot of success on this lake doing this. All right, we're going to wrap up the video. Wish I'd have caught a few on this technique, but it's been pretty slow here. So give this technique a try. I think you guys will like it. It could be a deadly technique at times. Sometimes it triggers the fish to bite, but give this a try. And I appreciate you guys watching. Please subscribe, hit that bell button. See you next time.